Hello, Indra. Thank you for being with us today. I look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Dean, for having me. I look forward to our conversation and to see where we get to.
We'll take it as far as we can go. How about that?
Yes.
As we had discussed, and most of our viewers or listeners know, we like to structure our interviews with some conclusions, and then we can go into explanations of how those conclusions were arrived at. And our primary focus is to focus on consciousness and our uh, role as conscious beings in the creationary process. You've had a long history, a lifetime of a variety of experiences of being a student of some pretty significant spiritual messengers in the course of your lifetime and begin our conversation with your perspective of consciousness. What is consciousness in your perspective?
I just listened to one of your podcasts and you asked that of the person, and happy. I was hoping you would ask me.
Well, there you go. I laid it
So
down.
consciousness to me is easy. Consciousness is like air is to the physical plane. Air or atmosphere is what we exist in. Consciousness is what we exist in. It's
Mhm.
the domain of spirit, and it's more than it includes the ethereal plane, and it's not just the earth plane but ethereal plane. Everything is existing in consciousness in this. I think if you think of it as air but only bigger, then it becomes easy to comprehend.
Okay, you're including us in that perception of consciousness.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
The dream of us, the physical plane, the Friday night pizza, the of sunset, the message of the gods and ghosts. It's all in consciousness. It's just that it is the bailiwick. It's where the Leela, the play of God, exists in consciousness.
Okay. And what is have you concluded a purpose for consciousness? Are you
Well,
aware of a purpose for consciousness?
again, purpose is one of my favorite words because when people say, "What's my purpose?" I don't think we have a purpose. I think that when say people say, and I know that's not what you're asking. What's my purpose? I think that's mostly ego. That's I need to have something large to say that I'm doing. The purpose could be for God to experience himself. And I wouldn't give it any more than that. That the purpose, I don't think there's any grand purpose. I don't think that other than existing, other than existence. I don't think if it's to make redwood trees, we've already got them. If it's to make beautiful sunsets, we've already got those. So I don't know that there's a purpose. I think purpose gets really puffed up because we need a reason, and I don't need a reason.
Well, that's a pretty significant purpose that you've specified, that self exploration. Uh, and my understanding is that the purpose of creation is so that the one infinite creator might know itself by experiencing itself. And it does that according to our, through the experience of consciousness.
Well, yes, that's right. But we don't have to make while it might be significant, the fact is that it also isn't that significant. That it's a there's a let's see if this holds up. There's a story and you say significant teachers. I've been a student of Paramahansa Yogananda for more than 50 years, a disciple. And
Hmm.
in the autobiography of a yogi, his book, are you familiar with the book?
Yes,
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
So in the book there's his guru's guru is Babaji, the deathless saint, and there's a story in the autobiography that is very otherworldly, and it was told through a human man who was invited to go witness this, and so that he could tell Yogananda to put it in the book. And the story goes, and I may not get this 100%, but this Indian man, this Indian master, was invited, and he heard that there was a special event about to happen. So he walked a ways into the woods, and bloop, Babaji appeared. Then Mataji, Babaji's sister, who we've never heard about or knew anything about other than this one story, and Lahiri Mahashaya, Babaji's chief disciple, appeared. And Mataji says to Babaji, I hear that you're thinking about a deathless saint. I hear that you're thinking about leaving your body. And Babaji says, yes, I'm thinking about it. And well, why is that? And Babaji says, she says, why is that? And Babaji says, well, it doesn't really matter, so I'm going to leave. And Mataji says, well, if it doesn't matter, then I'd like you to stay. And Babaji says, okay. End of story. Boom, they disappear.
Okay. So she gave him purpose.
Yeah, and it's not a big purpose.
Well,
It's that if
but
it doesn't matter, then just stay around. And
yeah,
so
I don't know
so
if you're familiar with Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning.
I've heard
And
of Viktor Frankl. I'm not sure that I know the book.
yeah, well, the book is his recounting is uh, uh, essentially his recounting of how he survived through the Nazi concentration camps, and the uh, foundation for his psychological theory of logotherapy, which is man needs to have a purpose or needs to have meaning. And as regardless of how trivial one person may perceive it to be, as long as the perceiver has that um, motivation, that it's significant as a foundation for their experiences in life. And your story, you and I are chuckling about it as how, relatively speaking, insignificant that it is, but that belief is the equivalent of the meaning uh, uh, of of living.
Well, here's my problem with it, that I sort of alluded to it before, that if I give it more purpose, then who's giving it a purpose is the ego. And then I'm more stuck in my own identification. I'm more stuck in that I'm important. I'm more stuck in these ideas. And I just, we were talking about being an elder. I've been on the spiritual path more than 50 years, and there's a lot of peace in letting that all go. And so that
Hmm.
anything that crystallizes, that densifies, that gives more a definition and density to a purpose, or to my own meaning. I just I'm just not in favor of that personally. And everybody can choose it themselves. And 30, 40, sure, you need purpose and direction and meaning. And that's, I call 35 the height of arrogance, that I know and you don't know. And that's okay. Like
Hmm.
it looks kind of ugly from the 70s, but it, at 35 we've all done that. We've all
Right.
been there, done that. And so anything that I can do to help to put a wedge in that uh solidification, densification those ideas. Concentration camp, you might need a meaning, and I'm not going to question his particular role that he plays, but the role that I play, and what has made sense to me and has given me more peace, is the idea of letting go of that everything. I say my book didn't come from me, but through me, and that
Hmm.
anything that I can do to because it's the reality is that it's not my wisdom, it's not my peace, it's not my understanding. It's something that I've been given by through experience and through consciousness and through spirit. And when I define it as mine, then I'm losing some of my peace. I'm losing some of the peace within me, not my peace. It's not my peace, but I'm losing some of the peace inside me because then I have an expectation. I'm holding on to a positionality. Anything that I hold on to is positionality, I'm trying to let go of all of those.
So, would you characterize your perception of the letting go as healing?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, what are we healing from? How would you describe that?
We're healing from wrong conceptions, or from conceptions, not even wrong conceptions, but just from conceptions that we know, that I know and you don't know, that
Hmm.
I know better, that I am right, that this is how things are, and that this is how it's better.
That perception of autonomy, the uniqueness of our perception that allows us to create this um, identity that we know better or we don't know better, whatever the case may be. The
Right.
position that we hold is unique, is it not?
Unique,
Unique.
unique to the individual or unique to
Yes,
human?
unique to the individual.
Well, you've stopped me, like that's a great question. It's unique in some ways and it's not unique in other ways.
But there's a lot
Because
of
as soon as I
commonality of
because as soon as I say it's unique, then I'm holding on to a position. And there may be that this moment is unique.
Mhm.
Each moment is unique, and I may have some ideas, definitely my ideas, the way I do astrology, the way I work with the Enneagram isn't, I've often say that it isn't like anybody else, so it is unique. But to call it unique also puts me into a bit of a straitjacket. And just to say that it's mine, I'd rather say that it's Indra's, rather than say that it's unique. Because if I put it into unique, then I'm holding on to something. And I'd rather not do that, Dean. In the moment, what comes clear, what the feeling is that I'd rather not do that. So the word unique has it's, we are different, but we also have an incredible amount of similarities. And as soon as I puff my chest out with I'm unique, because as soon as you go unique, it's really easy for it to get bigger. And I don't want to get into that.
what allows us to have that perception and um,
Spirit,
not inflate our identity. Is it
realizing that
possible to do that?
yeah, absolutely. The saints do that. We do that by letting go that it's us, that it's through us rather than us. It's that my book was written by spirit. It came through me. They're my
Right.
experiences, and I'm sitting there typing, the computer, but every time I type something, I take a walk, they say, hey, you need to add this. What about this word? And for years I got bits and pieces of stuff.
Mhm. Yeah,
Bit
I've had a similar experience. I
Yeah, bits and
understand that.
pieces of
Yeah.
stuff. And if I think that that's me, that's okay. If I'm 32 years old, if I think it's me, it's okay. But at my age, I don't want to hold on to that because I don't really believe it. And I find that when I do believe that, then my wife can feel it immediately, and I get a comment. You're you know. So
That's the purpose of the having a spouse.
the
Yeah, to crack that whip and pop you back into awareness.
Right, that's absolutely right. That's one of the purposes.
Yeah, I had, the experience, in my writing, and I still write quite a lot, but I had the experience. I'll, be writing at night, and I turn off the computer thinking, "That is just the greatest piece of literature that I have ever imagined that I could do that," and then I wake up the next morning and I reread it, and I know that some 6th grader snuck in and rewrote it over the night, know? And that ego just comes in, well, let's revamp this. It's not what I
Absolutely.
thought it was last night.
Well, absolutely, you write it. I mean, I do this all the time, and I think it's finished, and then I go back and then I see that, I'm told, or I see this, and then I see this, I see this, I see this, I this.
Right.
I'm only finished for the moment. I'm not fit. It's not finished. It's only
Yeah.
finished for the moment, and this is I hate to even bring this word up because you can ask me to define it, but this is a maturity. This to get the ego out of the way, to be able to see this, to not feel that, oh my god, it's terrible.
Mhm.
I had a client years ago who was a procrastinator. He was a photographer. He was a procrastinator. He only wanted to take the world's best photo. I said, couldn't you just take the best photo you take? No, I need to take the world's best photo so he could never push the shutter. He had a he
Yeah.
had a
Right.
beautiful used one of those 4x5, really professional cameras, but he couldn't push the trigger because when he looked in it, it didn't look like the world's best photo.
Right.
Just take the damn photo.
He had an expectation of what the world's best photo would look like, and it didn't meet
Absolutely.
his expectation.
And he had complications in his fifth house of creativity, and he was, I don't know, I remember late 30s, so I mean, he was going through it, but the reality of it is this is how it is, and there's nothing wrong.
So, how would you describe someone who is on the journey, just for lack of better description? What is it that we're healing?
Well, yeah, you asked me. I think what we're healing is our misconceptions. I think we're healing our positionalities. We're healing in some cases, we're healing our insecurities. We're healing our fears. We're healing our self doubt. We're healing our unworthiness, and it's in the body. It's not in our higher. It's not in our higher being. It's in the body. It's in the personality. And we heal it by recognizing it and letting it go.
And what is the anticipated or the experienced result of undertaking that process?
Peace,
Okay,
emptiness,
which how it feels like what?
wisdom. It feels like I tell the story that I was in New Zealand one time, and I rented a car and drove not very far for a week in the North Island, and I saw a million shades of green. And I think I flew in on a Sunday, and by Friday, I was now on the west coast of the North Island, and I went off the road about 5 miles to the coast and found a really cute hippie kind of a village back in 2003, and I rented a place to stay. They had these camping places for $15. You get a house with a common kitchen, and maybe it had a bathroom, and maybe it was a common bathroom. I don't remember, but they were all over the country and wonderful. And I just was having the best time. And I took a walk near sunset. I took a walk, and I was sitting on this bench overlooking the ocean. 1,000 miles away is Australia. And I had this was more than 20 years ago, so I was, I suppose, late 50s at the time, and I had a feeling, I had an experience that I'd never had before, that I felt that if I don't leave this bench, it's okay. That I am perfectly content, that everything is absolutely complete and whole. And if I was never to leave the bench, in fact, in other words, if I were to pass from my body right here, I'm okay. This is perfect.
Mhm.
And then eventually I got up and went and had dinner. But the idea,
'Cause you got hungry.
well, that experience, that moment ended, and then
Mhm.
that it wasn't that I was then hungry, but then it was like, yes, that was beautiful, that moment, and that was completed, and it'll never leave me 23 years ago. But, but it's that sense of completeness, that there's nothing missing, that I don't need anything, that things don't have to change, things, I don't need anything more. I that moment, I've had enough pizza. I've had it. I've read enough newspapers. I don't need to see another sunset.
Mhm.
It's a feeling of completeness and peace that is, yeah, you're taken over by spirit. You're taken over by God. You're taken over by you become your higher self, and there is a completeness. The,
Okay.
the
And
the
when
the masters the masters don't need to do what they do. That's just their karma to have their, Babaji and Mataji didn't need to have this exchange. They certainly didn't need to appear on Earth in order to have this exchange. They did that for man. They
Mhm.
didn't, they did that for Yogananda in the book, but they didn't need to do that. There's, that was just a play, that was the like Christ getting crucified, the play, it's like a play for
Mhm.
man. And so there's, but there's no need in them to do any of this.
Well, it's my understanding they feel a sense of obligation and duty to be of service.
I don't think when you use those words, it has the same meaning.
Well,
That's not a human
certainly
obligation
we
and duty.
we interpret interpret words and language according to our capacities to understand. Certainly, but for their own advancement, and again, what I'm trying to get to with my question is, um, the whole process of healing uh, is the process of following the enlightenment path or evolving, whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, all the same thing. All that we're doing is surrendering our perception of separation. We're sobering from the intoxication of our perception of separation. And what you're referencing as our higher self is of that level of unity that has dramatically surrendered that perception of separation and nearing the return to the oneness of the creator. But still, um, there is a sense of obligation that what they have created by virtue of our experience is a sense of duty, of a sense of obligation.
Well, I like you're using the word separation. That's one of my favorite words. I like to say that there is no separation. There's only the feeling of separation.
Right, right. Well,
And
then
so we have to
that's the
heal.
law of one.
Yeah,
That's the law of
we have
one.
to heal the misconception that we're separate
Yeah, and then that
and
is
that there's distance.
well, that's the nature of stress, of and within our experience, particularly, our range of consciousness is the most intense range of consciousness, and is predicated upon stress being our teacher, our source of experience that guides us to accomplish what you are describing as the objective. Is it not?
Well, stress is definitely, there to get us to let go of our positions. Yes, absolutely. It's a teacher rather
Mm,
than being we can also say the healing, we're healing the suffering. The suffering is the wrong conceptions that we have. And so yes, stress is one of the manifestations on the physical plane of our holding on to positions and ideas that aren't, that are human grounded, but not spirit grounded. Yeah, absolutely.
mhm. Okay, well, you described the process of finding peace, which is, in my interpretation, reduction in the amount of stress that we experience. Happiness is what emerges when stress is reduced. Bliss being perfect happiness, which is in our future. It's not available to us for the most part in our range of consciousness, but it is the absence, it's nothing more than the absence of stress, the absence of experiencing things that we don't like. So it is an objective of our evolutionary process, but it's not the end of our evolutionary process. It's just a way station along the way. But it again is still far above well the majority of the population, but I would endeavor to say all of the population that experiences Earth in this range of consciousness. Would you concur or would you
Yes,
disagree?
I would agree. I think that's very well stated, and yeah, beautiful.
Okay. But thank you. The healing, in my perspective, and please correct me where your thoughts vary. The healing at our range of consciousness is very simply becoming aware, and it is the inherent characteristic of the creator that we are tasked with becoming in order to prepare to evolve to the next range of consciousness.
I don't find any fault with that.
Yeah. So, how do you, in your efforts and your communications and your messaging, how do you communicate that to your listeners, your followers, whatever?
Well, of course, we communicate it wordless. We begin by communicating it wordlessly by just existing in it,
Mhm. By
and
providing a
an
uh,
example
example. Exactly. Thank you. I was
by reflecting it.
yeah,
And
and we as
Ramana, the great Indian saint, said that I prefer to teach in silence, but if they need words, I'll give you words. But the teaching in silence is the most powerful teaching.
yeah.
So there's no
Well,
reason to say or do anything. That it just that it radiates, and that radiation is so complete that it leaves people, how they can say a starlet's beauty, leaves you
right.
speechless, or you sit with the Dalai Lama, who I haven't sat with him. I've missed him a few times. We've missed each other. We've left town, But somebody
You
like
wave
that,
from the train station. Yeah.
yeah, he hears I'm coming, so he leaves town, or once I leave, then it's safe for him to come,
Yeah,
so,
it's
but
sequential. You're not supposed to be in the same place. It's a continuation of meeting. Who knows?
whatever whatever the teachings are, whatever suffering I need to have, I don't really care anymore. I'm happy to do that because there's bliss in the experience. The bliss is I think the bliss I guess I will take a little you can experience the bliss here at whatever consciousness, and your wife makes your favorite meal. There's some bliss, your team wins the championship, there's some bliss. I'm not saying that this is divine bliss, that this is the end bliss, but it's still, those fans.
Relatively speaking, it's
Yeah,
blissful.
World Cup brings the heartache and the bliss. So
Mhm.
some of it is momentary, but so that is the reason I think it's important is because if we hold up Jesus's bliss as an example, then we'll never get there. But we just need to expand it. I like to say that we're enlightened, but it isn't a very high percentage.
Well, yeah, I
We're-
explained that, and right, enlightenment is the path. It's not a destination. We perceive it as a destination because of the successes of the Buddha and so forth.
uh-huh.
But it's a path, and whether you're aware of it or not, you're on the path, and it's up to you how much of that path that you are aware of and appreciate. The farther you get off the path, the more into the weeds you get, and the more stress you experience.
I like to say that there's not you're only on the spiritual path. The two choices aren't on the path and off the path. The two choices are you're on the path or you don't know you're on the path.
Right?
But in either
Exactly.
case, you're on the path, and
Yeah.
there you can experience the bliss at whatever level you experience. You have some level of enlightenment wherever you are, and it's just a question of growing and expanding these percentages and growing them, and that to me makes it a little bit more attainable and more truthful,
Hmm.
because otherwise we think of ourselves when we compare ourselves with Jesus, not to pick on him, but just a common comparison. We never win if we're always trying to compare with the highest. And I don't think that's the purpose, is to, if there is a purpose, is to make us feel smaller. I think the idea is to give people in the expansion that you're already there. You just need to live in it more. You need to live in it deeper, and you need to live in it all the time and not leave it.
So underneath this identity, there is an authentic self. Would you concur with that?
Yes, I would call that a higher self.
Okay. So what is the authentic self? Who is the authentic self?
It's the one that doesn't need that knows everything, that is complete and whole as it is.
Okay. And is that a autonomous perceiving entity?
Autonomous perceiving entity. Boy, I sure don't want to limit it to those words. Autonomous, maybe in some ways, but not completely. I mean, what is autonomous?
Hmm.
I mean, uh, I teach. You asked me how I teach. So I use the modalities. I've come to these modalities: astrology, Vedic astrology, the astrology of India, is what I've come to use. I started with astrology more than 50 years ago.
Hmm.
The Enneagram of personality. There are 9 personality types. One of them is at our core, and it gives us an understanding of our personality, the patterning of our personality, and our particular core triggers. and that the problem is that I was reading a book yesterday, and he says that uh, what did he say? Identifying that what others think of us.
Mhm.
There is one triad in the Enneagram, the image types 2, 3, and 4 that are very important to that it's very important to how other people can consider me, that my self-image is based on what other people think. But the rest of us, our fear core types and our anger core types, that isn't really an issue. And to not bring and to make it, while it's, I'm not going to say you can't say it's universal, but it isn't really a core issue for 2/3 of the quote unquote 2/3 of the population.
Mhm.
And so when we bring in the Enneagram, so in my readings with people, I go through this to explain it to them, to help them to understand what their core issues are. And then I step back, because their own higher wisdom and their whole understanding will be the teacher, will bring them. It's not me, it's through me. And what happens is they get to a clarity. And then I say, when I'm in India and I do readings in person, I don't do so many in-person readings in the US anymore, but in India, I'm in Asia every winter. I say, when you go over the threshold, you see a door here. When you go over the threshold of the door, say this is outside, the bubble bursts.
Mhm.
It's really clear on this side in the reading, but as soon as you go to the other side, it's going to disappear. And the work becomes getting back there on your own, is to let go of what we've been able to let go in the reading. And what do I do? How does it work? We give them the recording, we give them the video, and we give them the tools to be able to understand what are the uh, misconceptions, opinions, that they're holding on to, that are not serving. They are serving. They may be serving. When you're in your 20s and 30s, they are very much serving those misconceptions. But as you get older, then you find that they're actually not. They're not serving anymore. And we have to heal the 7-year-old in us, the one that thought that life is fearful, and I'm not complete, and I'm doomed and a loser. That's the 7-year-old in us that we have to let go of. And so the process is to bring them to a sense of clarity that they can tangibly feel, and then helping them, teaching them how to get there on their own. And this awakening, you used a phrase, you were talking about awakening, like awakening. Ramana, after his awakening experience as a teen, he went into a near-death experience and woke up. What was the
Mhm.
next thing he did? He meditated in a cave for 19 years. Probably was enlightened when he was born, but he meditated again. Why did he do that? So that we could talk about and give the example that you're not awakened. You've only gotten a glimpse. Awakening, I had a teacher that they called it pre-awakening, not awakening, that it's pre-awakening. You have a glimpse, and then everybody thinks, now I know. So many people start teaching. They start teaching from their ego, and many of them fail and have a difficulty because they haven't really learned their lessons. There's a gap between they're here with consciousness, and then they have this experience, and they think, I'm here. But they have to fill in. We have to fill in the gap, and that can take years, and that's okay. That you have to get there on your own. This is my experience, and so it's a process of just like the teacher, the guru teacher is to bring people to the higher consciousness in order to show them what it's like, in order to get them to then, now that I know what I'm looking for, they can work on getting there themselves. But it's not a I'll be there next week. It's
Mhm.
still decades, and
Well,
it never stops.
Yeah, the tenure of the learning process varies from individual to individual, depending on their willingness to surrender those erroneous perceptions of self. And since they are our perception of self, the commonality of the feeling is fear. Because if I'm not who I think I am, who the hell am I? And that's fearful, regardless of who you are, to begin the process. But I describe to people the awakening is nothing more. We create this identity, this hierophant that we've been alluding to during the course of our conversation. That's purposeful. That's part of our design of experience. It's part of the archetypical mind that we create a hierophant at this range of consciousness. And the reason that we do that is so that we will experience a lot of what we don't like. If all that we ever experience was what we like, we would not know what we like because we have nothing to compare it to. Therein is the purpose, the motivation for creation itself. And so we create this hierophant to experience what we don't like until we come to that awareness that all the stuff that I've been doing may be making me conventionally successful, but I'm not happy. And that in order to have that experience, you have to, for the first time, invert the awareness that heretofore has been pointed outside of you to try to manipulate the world into tricking you into more, giving the world into giving you more of what you like. You turned it inside. And that's the beginning. And all that meditation does is invert that awareness ever deeper. And so it's not mystical or magical, but it is directional in enhancing that inherent characteristic of the awareness uh, inside. And so therein, the Buddha's teachings of the importance of meditation and the myriad other spiritual teachers that we've had over the course of our tenure is the answers are inside of us, because as we do that, then we heal that erroneous perception of self, and we contend with the fear and the other adverse emotions that we create along the way, and resolve those so that more of that authentic self is emerged. And as the authentic self is emerged, is when we experience less stress. We have the opportunity to experience the other inherent characteristics of the creator, which we are, as well as our journey progresses along the evolutionary path.
I think it's all mystical and magical.
Yeah, it's it's all a
That's
Saturday
where I
morning
sit.
cartoon. It's all a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah. It's all mystical and magical,
It is.
to imagine how upset we get that we don't get our way, at whatever age, how upset
Well,
that,
our
that,
the expectations are how we live our life, and we expect certain
until we let go of
results.
the expectations, then that's not
Huh?
how we live our life. When
Well,
we
that
let
would
go
that
of them.
yeah, that's exactly right. But that's, the expectation is the point of disappointment that allows us to become aware and surrender the belief, the underlying belief that uh, spawned that expectation in the first place. So we can
Yeah.
experience what you're describing as that condition of peace.
I'm quite often asked, how did you get on the spiritual path? And you explained it, is that I never went the corporate route. I dropped
Mhm.
out of the number 2 MBA program in the country because it wasn't it.
Right.
And I started on the path in my 20s. I never went corporate. I never went that success. I never had because it already was empty to me. And
Well, you had that awareness at an early age,
I
relatively
had that.
speaking.
I had that. I didn't really have it as a child, but there was waking up in the. You remember in the '60s? You said you're not that far behind me. In the '60s, there was some sense of that appeared that there was more than what appeared.
Right.
There was more to life, and so the path became, well, what is it?
Mhm.
Without no you didn't I didn't need to know the answer, but I needed to, I started on the search,
Mhm.
to find what was true for me, what was, who am I don't remember how I said it back then, but to find happiness, to find who I am, to find to find meaning, meaning
Right.
in life. But it wasn't to say that I was looking for meaning. That's not the way. That's how we might talk about it now. But how
Right.
we used it back then, that's is a completely different language.
Well, that's how we've come to intellectualize it, to be able to communicate it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when you have 40 or 50 or years of experience with it, then we can use terms like that, but it's not how we you know, in our neophyte stage, it's that I'm looking for meaning in my life. There were people that talked about that talked about that. Meaning was a really a buzzword.
Mhm.
You know, the books that were already written, you know, in the 30s and 40s were looking for meaning,
Right.
but in the 60s, we didn't need meaning. We just needed a sense of freedom and peace.
Right.
Meaning wasn't so important. What was it? The Beatles with the "God is dead." You know, this wasn't
Uh,
about meaning. This was the opposite of meaning. This was
right.
maybe it is meaning, but that isn't the way we thought of it or the terms we would
Mm.
use.
When you're in it, it's not meaning, and when you get past that or advance through it at a certain level, then you can look back in retrospect, of course, is always much more clear than the current experience. But, that's great.
Absolutely.
Indra, what would you, yeah, we've talked about a myriad of different things, and, I think I blabbered about my perceptions as much as I've allowed you to share yours. Uh, what words of wisdom would you leave our listeners with?
Well, I always go back to love yourself. Let me give you let me back up a second. Let me give you the closest I've come to a teaching. This came to me in 10 minutes. Took me years to figure it out, but it came to me in 10 minutes. This is the four door I call the four doorways to conscious living. The
Okay.
first doorway is we need to learn to observe. We need to learn to watch our own thinking and behavior. We need to watch our reaction to other people's thinking and behavior. We need to watch our reaction to situations. We need to watch our reactions to other people's reactions to situations. We need to get out of the movie of our life into the audience rather than on the screen, into the audience, to be able to have objectivity about perceiving our own responses and reactions in life. That's the learning to observe. Then the second doorway is to let go and release what doesn't serve us. Here we have to see through our feelings to realize that underneath that the feelings don't really matter. They're not truth. They're just ideas. The idea is that it's going to rain today. I don't like rain. That's truth. I'm not going to have a good day. That's made up. And we have to see through and release whatever it is that's not serving us. If ice cream is serving you, then keep eating ice cream. But there are many attitudes and opinions that are holding us back because we're holding on to these ideas, feelings that come up as truth. The third doorway is to love yourself. The fourth doorway is to live in the moment. If we live in the moment, then we love ourselves. How do we love ourselves? Is by letting go and releasing what doesn't serve. How do we know what to let go? By learning to observe. So loving
Okay.
ourself is the goal because we can't love anybody else. We can't find bliss and peace until we love ourselves, accept ourselves as we are, accept the truth of we're in a body, but we're not the body, and we're not Indra and we're not Dean. It's just a role we're playing, and to accept that in loving ourselves as we are, then our heart opens, our attitudes are not so the velcro of attitudes gets does stops working, so we don't
Mhm.
stick to our attitudes as much. So, loving yourself, being is it's not about it may be about egotistical putting yourself first. For certain personalities, that is a very positive step, but for many of us, that isn't necessarily the goal. But to be able to love yourself as you are, then opens the door to loving other people as they are, and loving our life as we are, and loving God and seeing God in everything.
It's allowing us to break down that perception of separation, and we begin to see other people as extensions of ourselves rather than competitors.
Absolutely. All
Great.
brothers and sisters.
Okay. Indra, this has been very great. I've enjoyed this. I hope that you have too. I'm sure that it will be of interest and helpful to many of our listeners. And I don't know what I could do to assist you in your messaging because obviously you are a very good messenger and a fairly significant messenger in your journey through this range of consciousness. But if I can be of service in any way, please let me know and I'll be happy to help as I can.
Oh, thank you very much. Can I share how to contact me and what I do and some
Sure. And
things?
well, yeah, I'll, you can do that now. I was going to put all that in. I will put all of that in the show
Okay.
notes.
Okay.
So people won't have to try to scribble that down. But yeah, I want to put all that information available and offer that to the public for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Indra. I'm gonna cut us off now. If you'll hold on, and we can chat for just a minute afterwards.